How we doing, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. It's our Week 7 NFL preview. With me, my good friends, Mr. Brett Bandick and Mr. Michael Zappi. How you doing, boys?
Doing great, buddy. Ready to rock and roll, buddy.
Yeah, man. Zap, how are you, dude?
4-1 in the top of the eighth. I think you know how I'm doing.
This is a football show, sir. You will not rib me about the failures in Game 1 of my New York Yankees. And if this behavior continues, I will have no other choice but to mute you in a timely fashion when we talk about the Cowboy game. Tomorrow, I know, buddy. And besides, you're a Ranger fan. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to want me to be happy. Tomorrow is Thursday Night Football, and plus, your kid loves Aaron Judge. He don't love the Astros. What are you doing? All right,
he hates the Yankees.
Oh, okay, fine.
Sure.
We have the Arizona Cardinals hosting the New Orleans Saints. It's Thursday Night Football. Two teams that are really trying to find their offenses. Good news for the Cardinals, they are getting back DeAndre Hopkins. He has served his 6-game suspension. Newly acquired wide receiver Robbie Anderson figures to be in the mix immediately given the injuries that they have in that receiving corps. Kyler Murray's been struggling. And lately, the Saints' defense has been struggling. That was supposed to be their strong suit. I believe Andy Dalton is starting again. Is that correct, fellas? I believe Dalton's getting another start here.
From what I last saw, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something's got to give. You got a struggling defense on one side. You got a struggling offense on the other side. Cardinals' defense hasn't been all that bad. They are struggling to score points. But I do believe that the return of DeAndre Hopkins could literally be what barely gets the Cardinals over in this one. No James Conner. He's going to miss 2 games in less than a week. I agree with the decision, even though it hurts my fantasy team, because they got to be careful with the rib injury. Give him, the long week now, and he probably would be back for Week 8. Would be my estimation. Benjamin is going to get some action in that backfield. How do you feel about this game, Brett? Do you think Kyler Murray's going to finally be able to put his team?
No, I think he'll make some improvements. I don't think it's going to be a night and day difference of his last performance, but I think he'll play a lot better. With D-Hop returning, Robbie Anderson coming there. You touched on that. I don't really know if he knows the playbook very well. We'll see how it pans out. And like you said, the Saints defense is struggling. So what better way to, come out with a dub at home against a struggling defense, from New Orleans. So I think D-Hop will make a significant impact. Will he be the X factor? Yeah, I'm going to say he will. With no Connor, anything like that, I think, he's gonna come back hard.
What's interesting about this game is that should the Cardinals lose, is Cliff Kingsbury in trouble of getting canned? I mean, this would be 4 consecutive home losses, I believe. This could be an issue. Zap, how do you see this thing playing out?
So I look at Arizona last year, a team that started off very hot, and they did a lot of that with DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup.
Indeed.
Once he started missing games, that offense started to splutter. Then fast forward to this season, that offense has continued to splutter without the likes of DeAndre Hopkins. Now he has served his 6-game suspension. Enter Hopkins and also enter Robbie Anderson, as you alluded to. Obviously, they lost Marquise Brown for a little while, and James Conner is still questionable, but it looks like he is going to be missing tomorrow night's game.
I believe so, yes.
The Saints, no Mike Thomas, no Chris Olave, no Jarvis Landry, no Adam Troutman, no Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, the list goes on and on of injuries this team is facing. And while one team is getting their number one receiver back, another team is losing their number one cornerback. A lot of this favors the Cardinals. And for that reason, I think Arizona's offense will get a spark. But I just think that New Orleans' offense and defense is going to continue to struggle. And I think the Cardinals are going to win this game pretty easily, 24-10.
I want to make a mention. Olave, I just read this off of my fantasy report. He is 100% fully cleared for tomorrow's game.
Okay. Well, that's good news for them.
It's good news for me. I'm all my Buffalo guys are on buys, and one of my 3 running backs is actually 2 of my 4 running backs are injured. So yeah, I need all the help I could get this week. Final scores, gentlemen. You already gave me your final. Zap, what is your final, Bretsky?
I'm going to say 27-14, Arizona.
I'm going to go 27-20 in favor of the Cardinals. D-Hop goes for over 100 and gets to pay dirt.
Hey, so Rich, the last update I see on Olave, I know you said the fantasy report, but it still has him as out. So I would double check that because sometimes those fantasy things can be off.
Out, huh?
Yeah.
Yesterday at 3:26 p.m., Olave says he's fully cleared 100% for Week 7. He told reporters that he's fully cleared.
Okay.
We'll see.
I guess something to keep an eye on, yeah.
So, yeah, definitely got to keep an eye on it, like I said, because if he's not in the game, I'm going to have to figure out a solution at that position. But we'll monitor that. The former Browns host the current Browns. It is the Browns and the Ravens, AFC North, hate-filled matchup. Trying to build this up as much as I could. This would have so much more juice to it if Deshaun Watson was quarterback in the Browns. Browns have taken a turn for the worse after starting out kind of promising, getting their ass handed to them by the New England Patriots. Patriots really manhandled them, and I didn't expect it to be that easy for the Patriots, but they made it look rather easy.
I didn't either. That completely caught me off guard. I was not expecting that.
Baltimore Ravens coming off a 3rd regular season loss where they blew a 4th quarter lead, this time to my New York Giants. So both these teams are coming off losses to Brett's team as well as my team. I expect a motivated performance from the Ravens. I think they're going to play a full 4 quarters this one. I expect Lamar Jackson to beat the Browns with his arm, staying in the pocket, abusing them with a clear mismatch with Mark Andrews. And I also expect Kenyon Drake to continue to be a part of this attack, even if J.K. Dobbins is available. I'm going to go Ravens 30, Browns 17. I think they're going to win rather handily. And hopefully for the Ravens' sake, start finishing out some of these games because this is a team that could be 6-0. Instead, they're 3-3. But still atop a very topsy-turvy AFC North.
Yeah, I'm almost on the same page with you. I think the signing of your boy Deshaun Jackson. Kind of curious to see what he's going to do.
He's on the bench
in the special teams game. We'll see what happens, but even if Ravens get ahead, and the past 4 weeks have been known for blowing 4th quarter leads, Browns don't have the offense to actually get back in that game. You know what I mean? Like
they got to induce a couple of turnovers on defense. And they have to control the time of possession. They got to get Chubb going. They got to basically keep the Ravens off the field. And I don't think the Browns have what it taktakes to be able to do that.
If they distribute the ball right, between Kareem Hunt, Chubb, Amari Cooper, and they move the chains, and I can see that happening. But I don't see it this week. I really don't. I think the Ravens will come on top, 30-17. They're going to run the ball in the 4th quarter, move the chains. Browns really don't have not going to say a stellar defense, but they have an average defense.
I see them as talented, but never quite meeting their potential. When you look at them,
they're not.
Like, wow, these guys should be top 10 in the league, but that's not the case. They have certain ball players.
At least not the way they're playing.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? So, I'll take Ravens in this matchup for sure at home.
Yeah, got to go Ravens. We picked the same final. Zap, what's your final here?
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens on this one. I mean, it's just sad that the Baltimore Ravens should very easily be the number one team in the NFL right now at 6-0.
Oh, yeah.
They had the Dolphins, they had the Bills, they had the Giants, and all blown fourth quarter leads. What they need to do is stop letting Lamar Jackson throw the ball in the fourth quarter. You have leads. That's when you're supposed to run the ball.
I couldn't agree anymore.
And Lamar, he runs the ball in the first three quarters, and he decides to just start throwing it in the fourth. No, that's the formula to lose, and it's been proven 3 times by this team.
Ask the Atlanta Falcons how that works. It cost them a Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, and as far as Cleveland, Nick Chubb's going to get his. He's leading the NFL in rushing for a reason.
Yeah,
the guy's a hoss. You can't stop him. And it's also nice when you have a backup like Kareem Hunt. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett, he's been trying to hold his own, but not having Deshaun Watson in that lineup
kills them right now.
It's killing them, and that's us going based off the Deshaun Watson we know of, because we haven't seen him play it down in a while. I don't count that preseason game at all.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the Browns do play them pretty good. Last year, they split the series. The second time the Browns won, a very close one with Lamar Jackson out. I believe the Ravens come out on top this time, 24-20, and this time they rely on the legs of Lamar Jackson in the fourth quarter to hold on to that victory.
Close game.
Yeah, you definitely got it considerably closer than Brett and I do. This one I don't see being competitive at all. The Buccaneers, if they have any remnants of what was a Super Bowl team from 2 years ago, a team that last year almost came from behind, beating the eventual champion Rams, there's a lot of turmoil surrounding this team, as well as just issues football related. You have guys that are banged up. You have Tom Brady going through one of the toughest things that any person goes through, which is potentially getting a divorce. That is very painful and not easy when you are still a leader of men and you have to go out there and try to take your mind off of your personal stuff. Very difficult to do. But Tom is a fighter. He wouldn't be in the league this long if he wasn't. And I think that this particular week, after being embarrassed to a subpar Pittsburgh team, losing alone, that's an embarrassment, considering who the Steelers were missing last week. Panthers are in the process, phase 1 of a fire sale. They've already moved on from Robbie Anderson. I expect Christian McCaffrey as well as DJ Moore to be on the move, and probably any other realistic assets that they can move to get future draft capital. I think the Bucs are coming for them. I think this is going to be the game that we both thought the game that you thought, Zappy, that Brady was going to have last week, the 3 to 4 touchdowns, 350-yard game. I think this is the week that he's going to have it. I look for Brady to distribute the ball, and even if it's just for one Sunday, to look like a top 5 quarterback this week. I'm going Buccaneers 33, Carolina Panthers 13. I think this is going to be an utter beatdown.
Yeah, I think at the start of the game, I think the first half, I think Panthers are going to stay in it. I think they'll keep it close in the first half. Once second half hits, Brady starts getting pissed off. I think those numbers are going to start to come out. I think it'd be a little closer. I'm thinking, 30, 31-18, 31-20. Probably going to be in 31-20 game. I think McCaffrey is going to get his points. I still think he'll have a, 50-yard rushing, 50-yard receiving, throwing a touchdown. here or there. But at the end of the day, Tampa's going to come on top. I don't think it's going to be a blowout game for Brady. I think this is going to be more of a feel-out game. Just to kind of see where his offense is at right now. Because, I think he's struggling. Rich, you told me personal conversations, he looks old. He doesn't look like he wants to be there.
To a level, yes, I agree. And that's not what we're used to seeing with a guy like that.
No, it's not. It's not. But this week, but we'll see. It'll be the tail of the tape. We'll see where Brady's at. We'll see the offense is at, and they'll make adjustments. But I think they really need that bye week coming up for them.
And maybe
right now they're struggling. If they can get this dub, put that W in the column for them, call it a day, and go from there. But this is more of a confidence booster for Tampa.
Carolina's probably the worst team in the NFL.
Oh, they are.
They are really close to being worse.
This might be what Tampa really needs to really get into the mix of things.
Zappy said this before. There's a couple of things happening with Tampa. When you need to get to Tom Brady, pretty much in any era of Brady's career, but more so now that he is even older, is by rushing through the guards /center, not necessarily getting him from the wide side, unless you have supreme athletes.
Yeah, the A and B gap right up the middle.
Yeah, because in the past, the only time that Brady consistently may have been tortured in that regard is if you're playing against like the creme de la creme of pass rushers that are defensive ends. My New York Giants, what they did years ago, that was one of those rare examples where you get Tom Brady from the outside, but more times than not, it's the inside. You kind of got to mess up his body clock. Carolina offers nothing.
The Jets did it from the outside. They didn't do it from the inside. Back in the Rex Ryan days, they always blitz from the outside and overloaded one side, blitz from the other. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's always about if you're going to
mix it up a little.
Yeah, I just this particular game, even if it's smoke and mirrors, Carolina offers nothing to me that is truly a threat to the Tampa O-line. But the Tampa O-line is not what it was. And, missing Rob Gronkowski is definitely showing an effect on the inability for this offense to be as good as they were. Zappy, what are your thoughts here, man?
So before I do say anything in regards to this game, just want to give you an update.
Oh, I'm looking at it.
You are looking at it? Okay. So not sure if Brett's aware, but Ryan Presley has been brought in to save the game with 4 outs to go, but the Yankees are threatening right now.
Yeah.
So going back to the Panthers Buccaneers game, look, we saw what this Panthers offense looked like last week with PJ Walker in as the starting quarterback, and he will be starting again this weekend for the Panthers. I wouldn't be surprised if CMC came out of the locker room wearing a Tampa Bay jersey, honestly, just because of, the Bucs need him, but they're not going to make that trade. Anyways, yeah, if there's one thing in the NFL does not like seeing, it's Tom Brady coming off of a loss. Now, if it's Tom Brady coming off of a loss that he was supposed to win,
oh yeah,
that's even worse.
Oh yeah,
I had Brady having himself a big game last week. Obviously, that Pittsburgh Steelers defense shut him down while missing numerous amounts of starters on that defensive side of the ball. I don't see it this time. The Panthers, as we already saw, they quit on Matt Rule. We saw the big flare-up on the sideline between Robbie Anderson and their interim head coach on the sideline, and that's just not good for your locker room. Yes, they got rid of Robbie Anderson, but as we all know, there is a fire sale, and I'm sure the majority of the players on that team feel for their safety in regards to will they have a job with that team after this game, or will they be playing somewhere else?
A lot of guys are checked out. It's like
it's too much. It's just too much right now. So now it's almost like they probably had their eyes set on a CJ Stroud for this year's.
Carolina is in rebuilding mode for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, there's no question about it. So, with that being said, I just I look at the recent history between the Buccaneers and the Panthers, and the Buccaneers have had their number, and they've had their number pretty handily too.
Even before the arrival of Brady, they've had their number.
Yeah, and I don't see that being any different. I have the Buccaneers coming out on top fairly easily, 34-6.
Matt Carpenter struck out with 2 out, in case you're wondering what that was about. We're going to move it along to what, in my opinion, is going to be the best game of this week. This is a week where it's like you really got to rattle the tree to get a couple of good ones to come off, a couple of good ones. This is, in my opinion, going to be the best game of the week. I got this game going to OT. The Atlanta Falcons are a little better than a lot of people projected this year. I don't think it's all smoke and mirrors with them. If that roughing the passer penalty doesn't occur against Tampa, perhaps Atlanta could have tied them on the final drive. Point to be made is that the gap between Tampa and this Atlanta Falcon team is not all that wide. And not just by records, just by performance. They're doing all right, given that Cordarrelle Patterson has been on a limited IR. He should be back in a couple more weeks. This Cincinnati team, they've been nursing their own share of injuries. It looks like T. Higgins is going to be reactivated into that lineup. But, I see Cincy as having some of the problems they had last year. Joe Burrow still gets hit too often. And while they have an opportunistic defense, I certainly don't consider them to be one of the better units. I think this has the capabilities of being a potentially high-scoring game. I've got the Bengals pulling it out in overtime. I'm going 33. Actually, I'm going to go 30-24. Bengals in OT. 30-24 Bengals in overtime. Burrow to Chase. I think the Atlanta Falcons are starting to gradually show that they have improved. And they're doing it in different ways week to week. Kyle Pitts hasn't been the fantasy monster that a lot of people projected he would be, similar to Darren Waller's struggles out in Vegas. But I do like the Bengals in a tight one. And I do think from an entertainment level and an unfamiliarity level, because these teams don't play each other very often, when you see Bengals and Falcons, it's not like a game that you're just used to seeing, even though it's an interconference game and, every 3 years, every 4 years have you, but it'll be an entertaining one, potentially stealing the best game of the week.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one.
I
think they're a good road team.
They're not that bad, dude. They're not that bad. They're improving.
They're a really good road team. I mean, with Philly, with Minnesota, those 2 games were both on the road, and they took it down to the wire. So, I'm confident that this Falcons team can give Cincinnati a run for their money. I think Atlanta will come on top with a last-second field goal, 30-28. Falcons.
I mean,
I think Kyle Pitts. I think Pitts will have a solid game. I think he'll have a 70 yards, 1 touchdown game. So a solid start for him. But Mariota's playing good ball. He's making good decisions. They're running the ball well, and their defense is actually playing pretty well. And against a struggling offense with Cincinnati and everybody getting to Burrow, they can make it happen. So I'm gonna take Atlanta 30-28.
All right.
I look at the Cincinnati team, and this is another one of those teams. They're like the Ravens. They could easily be undefeated right now too.
For sure.
Week 1 they lost that game because they didn't have a long snapper, and therefore the the balls were taking time to get to the holder, and we had a couple of missed field goals and block kicks. Week 2, we saw the slow start they had against Dallas, and they almost still pulled it off. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago, they lose a close one, but if it wasn't for Justin Tucker's great leg, they probably pulled that one out 17-16. So really, I look at Cincinnati over the last 4 weeks, and they've been one of the better offenses and defenses in the NFL. I like Atlanta. I like how they've looked, but I'm just not sold on them yet, and I don't know if I will be. I think Cincinnati's going to come away on top on this one, and I think they're going to win this one fairly easy, 27-16. I see the Bengals having more of a bend, don't break type of defense this weekend. The Falcons will move the ball, but when they get down close to the red zone, they will settle for 3 field goals, and that will be the difference in the game. So for that being said,
you want to throw in an Eli Apple interception?
No, I'm not the fan. You are.
I was waiting for somebody to mention Eli Apple. I'm just thankful that Brett mentioned him because I was going to give Brett some mercy, but sometime I wasn't even going to mention him, but I said, you know what? Brett might mention him.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
coming. I'm saving that one for another day.
Yeah, by the way, your boy Idris hasn't forgotten about your thoughts on Mr. Apple.
Oh, don't worry, it's coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
It don't get any better than this. A rematch of the 1993 NFC title game, which actually goes back to the last time the Lions won a playoff game. Oh my. It's the Lions, it's the Cowboys. It's the great debate. Is it Emmett or is it Barry? It is none of those things. This is Jared Goff. This is Dan Campbell. This is Mike McCarthy. These are 2 coaches that might not be coaching these teams next year. McCarthy has gained some life because of his great defense. Zappy, this is your team. I'm going to let you start, and then we're going to kind of move it along. I'll tell you what I think last.
Can we mute him? We don't need to talk about the Cowboys.
I kind of want to because of his utter disrespect to the greatest franchise in all of American sport, the New York Yankees. But you know what? It's okay. Zappy, you go first. Let's talk about the Cowboys, who, by the way, your owner, Jerry Jones, happens to idolize the great George Steinbrenner, the late, great George.
I'm about to be Jerry Jones and use his exact words to Brett as if he was Robert Kraft.
I heard about that.
That's awesome. Old white billionaires.
I heard about the nice debate they had in the NFL owners meeting. So I don't really know what was said, but I heard they clicked heads.
Let's just say that it's not something you would see to a man that's worth over $16 billion say to another billionaire, unless if this 80-year-old really got pissed off.
Jerry was very angry. And per usual, Jerry was going against the grain, kind of doing his own thing, which, to be honest with you, even though I'm not the biggest Jerry Jones fan, that part of his personality I have actually always admired.
But, I mean, what was it? Like, you stole my happy ending, girl? I mean, what was it?
No. To my knowledge, Jerry never had to pay. Zappy, what are your thoughts on the football game? Can we talk about that if you don't mind?
Jesus.
If you guys really want to know what happened, Robert asked for advice and Jerry gave him the wrong place to go to.
Oh,
anyways.
God.
Hey.
Look, the worst defense in the NFL coming into Dallas, a team that just came off a loss to the Eagles without their star quarterback, who happens to be coming back this week. This is the recipe for disaster for Detroit. This is the recipe for, if they're not careful, they're going to lose that game early. Dallas, I know, is going to come out pissed off. They're going to come out motivated. The receiving corps is going to come out excited because they haven't had a quarterback since week 1. And then defensively, the Lion, he's going to come out and lead them. They're going to have pressure on Jared Goff early and often. It looks like they are getting DeAndre Swift back, so that will boost their offense.
That's important for them.
That's very important, but I don't know if it's necessarily enough. It almost seems like the New England Patriots put the blueprint on how to stop Detroit's offense. And if there's one defensive coordinator out there that knows how to follow up those blueprints, it's Dan Quinn.
Good shout. Good shout.
So with that being said and done, I just think, Dak's return, motivated football, this is their stretch of games that they're supposed to win and get their team right before. I don't necessarily want to call it a tough stretch because their schedule is very easy from here on out. Dallas comes out on top 31-14, and Dak will come out, have 3 touchdown passes, and just look like the Dak that could put up numbers.
Brett, your thoughts on this game?
I think Dak is going to come out rusty. I think it'll be close going into the half. I think you're going to see a heavy dose of Pollard this game. Just because I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Granted, Zappy, Dallas defenses, they're great. They really are really good. I think Detroit's going to come out firing at all cylinders. I think it's going to be one of those 33 games, 34, 30 kind of games. Call me crazy. It is what it is, but I think Detroit's going to give you a nice run. I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game by any means. I'll still take Cowboys in this matchup just because it's at home. I'm going to go 34-30 Cowboys.
The only way that I could see a score like that is if this was week 1, similar to when Detroit played the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, Dallas, despite turning the ball over and despite losing the game on the front line, essentially Cooper Rush, in addition to making poor decisions, just getting hit too often by a very good Eagles defense. We also have to take into account that the Cowboys defense kept them in that game against a pretty good Eagles offense and a pretty great Eagles O-line. When I think about the Detroit Lions, I don't see much of that. I don't know how Jared Goff would be able to carry the team. The only thing that I agree with Brett on is that I do believe early on Dak might have to get some of the dust and the rust off. So I could see something where it's maybe like 6-3, 6-6 around maybe the midway point of the second quarter. But I think once Micah, D-Law, and Diggs start putting their blueprint on this game, it's going to lead to some untimely turnovers. And once they're able to get more than a 2-score lead, that eliminates DeAndre Swift from the game plan, which I think makes Detroit one-dimensional and incredibly vulnerable and just playing lopsided football. I call for a close half up until about maybe the 5 to 6 minute mark of the second quarter. I think Dallas is going to have a big day. I'm going to go Dallas 34, Detroit 17. And I think Dak will be welcome back. And I think that, it's going to be – this is the perfect game for Dak to come back to. The Lions have – in my opinion, the worst defense in the NFL. And I do think that them having the number 1 offense is a little bit of smoke and mirrors and not telling the whole story. We talk about blueprints. Zappy made the mention. I feel that the New England Patriots basically showed the league how to deal with this Lions offense, and the losses will continue to pile for the Lions. And that's how I see that.
And Richie, it's not an opinion when it's a fact.
Well, I didn't have necessarily the rankings in front of me for every defensive stat, but
yeah, they're historically bad.
They're pretty bad. They're bad. And Dallas, I'm not saying that they're necessarily the dynamic offenses of the Romo era or maybe a few years ago when Zeke was a little younger and less used, but Dak Prescott, when healthy, is still a top 10 quarterback in this league. And I think a matchup like this, he'll be able to show off the strong parts of his game. We're going to keep it in the NFC East, a game that I'll be attending in Jacksonville with my good friend Gary, as well as Idris from the show here. Going to be a 3-day weekend, a lot of fun. Something off the rip that I kind of find a little intriguing is that Vegas has the Jags as a 3.5-point favorite in this game.
Really?
And while I understand, and while I understand that the Giants have not been winning by big margins, we're 5-1. So I do have to kind of shrug at that, laugh a little, but at the same time, the Giants are 4-0 playing as the underdog. So I believe that is good fuel. That's good motivation. Doug Peterson is very familiar with the New York Giants, having coached Philly all those years. These are not the same Giants, and Doug Peterson is not coaching the Eagles. He's coaching the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, still a work in progress. I expect a close game. I do. I think the Jaguars are pesky enough that this could be a definite trap game for the Giants. But the reason why I'm not overly concerned is because I don't believe Brian Daboll will allow his team to not be prepared for this challenge. This is the first time in a while this season that most of the NFL world is like, this is a game the Giants are supposed to win. Those games are dangerous, and I think the Giants are aware of that going in. Quite frankly, I don't think they're going to be able to keep the many exotic looks that Wink Martindale brings. And one thing that I've been very happy about with the Giants defense is that they have made adjustments during the game course to change things if things aren't working early. And quietly, the New York Giants offensive line, little by little, after getting that lesson from Zappy's Cowboys, has been playing as a really good unit. Evan Neal is gaining confidence. Andrew Thomas has been really good from day one this year. And I like the effort we're getting from Glowinski. I like the effort we're getting from Feliciano. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a signature game. And I also look for Daniel Bellinger to continue to progress into proving that he is the tight end of the future for this franchise. I'm going to go Giants 27, Jaguars 20. It's going to be close, but the Giants will win the turnover battle and in turn win the football game.
All right. Well, like you alluded to earlier, it's not the it's not the same Giants team that Doug Peterson played, when he was coaching Philly. But it's also not the same. It's also not the same Jaguars team that everybody has been playing. You know what I mean? So I think it's not the same. I think Jacksonville. I think they have an edge on the shoulder this year. I think you're going to see a heavy dose of Saquon and Robinson. ETN is, he's the new number one in Jacksonville. It's going to be an interesting matchup. It's really going to come down to who's going to make more mistakes. Is it going to be Trevor Lawrence or is it going to be Danny Dimes? Whoever is going to throw the most picks or turn the ball over the more, I mean, it is what it is. But
it's been clearly evident through the first 6 weeks of the season that Trevor Lawrence is more prone to make those mistakes.
Oh, he's prone, but who knows? I mean, any given Sunday, my guy. Any given Sunday. I think it's going to be an overtime game. I think with I still think he come on top. I'm going to say 23-20 overtime. G-men. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. I think it's like like you said, it's a trap game. It's a dangerous game. It's a game that the Giants are supposed to win. When those games happen, anything goes. But I'll take the G-men in this one though. 23-20 OT.
Zap, your thoughts on this game?
I saw that little smirk come from your face as soon as he said, "I'll take the G-men." Yeah, I think this week and next week are two trap games for the New York Giants. Obviously, we're talking about this week's game. Going back a couple weeks ago, I said I did not like the matchup for the Giants, and I stand by that. Even after the Jaguars blew that 14-0 lead to Philly and then got embarrassed to the Texans, and even got embarrassed. I guess I wouldn't say got embarrassed, but lost this past weekend. There's something about this game I don't like. I think a lot of it has to do with coming down to Florida during that time of year. You guys did have a very emotional comeback victory last week against Baltimore. It does have all the writings for an upset. Some people wouldn't really call this an upset. A lot of people do not think the Giants' 5-1 record is really what that team is. And a lot of it more has to do with the nature of their schedule. And the same is being said about the Cowboys and Eagles. Time will tell. I think the Jaguars match up well. And I say that defensively, they have some guys that can get to the quarterback. And then offensively, they got some guys that can move the ball. And they don't have great receivers. They have a bunch of number twos. They still need that number one, but they have a good receiving core. I think Jacksonville comes out on top in a very close game. I also have the score 23-20, but I have the Jaguars coming out on top, and the difference being that they're playing at home. If this was in New York, I would pick the Giants.
Fair enough. To piggyback off of your point, Zappy, one thing that I will say I do feel slightly ominous about is the fact that given the influx of New Yorkers here, and, like anything else, if everybody's telling you how good you are, sometimes it's almost impossible not to get trapped into that. And that's part of the reason why I think it's going to be close. We shall see. I think the Giants pull it off, but, neither outcome would necessarily blow my mind because I do take into consideration that the Giants are a little bit ahead of schedule. And the Giants have basically achieved already what most people thought their win total was going to be for the year. Just to let you gentlemen know, we're coming up on roughly the 15-minute mark of the show, so we're going to try to add a little speed to some of these. I'll be short and sweet here. Green Bay Packers are down a ton of receivers. They worked out a lot of people. This is not an easy game because of the fact that you just blew a game at home, got your doors blown off, you lost in England, you're looking for answers, but I think they're playing the right team in the right week to sneak out a tough victory, and I do think that's what's going to happen. I got the Pack winning a very close game, 24-23, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Taylor Heinicke is getting the start here for Washington. I think Ron Rivera has seen just about enough of Carson Wentz. Washington's coming off a win, but it was far from impressive against a pretty bad Bears team. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
I think Commanders come out on top on this one. Rodgers still isn't clicking with his wide receiving core yet. You might see a heavy dose of Dillon and Jones. But Washington's front seven, I think, will keep that under control.
Keep it close enough.
What's that?
Kind of keep it close enough and maybe make a few plays down the stretch.
Yeah, no, I think I still think the Commanders come on top. Heinicke's a good quarterback. He's a smart quarterback. He's a game manager. I think Commanders come on top 2017. It's going to be a low-scoring game. You're going to see a lot of running on both sides of the ball. 2017, Washington.
Zappy, your thoughts on this one, bud?
This is the game that's going to set off the alarms for the Packers to make a trade for a wide receiver. This is how I see this game going. And for that reason, I think with Carson Wentz being out due to the surgery on his finger, and insert Taylor Heineke, I think the offense is actually going to see some sort of a spark, because really
I could see that. Yes, I do agree there.
I'm not going to say Heineke was a great quarterback last year, but the guy has had his moments, and he's had more moments than Carson Wentz has had over the last few years.
That's a valid point.
I think that for that reason, I see Washington's offense coming out and playing well. I think they're going to run the ball a little bit, even better with Robinson starting another game. Yeah, I got Washington winning this game, and a close one, 20-16. It's just with the lack of receivers right now that Green Bay has, it's going to allow that front seven to really key off on the running game. And
no Randall Cobb either. Randall Cobb's out too.
As is Watkins, more than likely.
Yeah, they're missing too much, and then that's why Green Bay needs to make a trade for a DJ Moore or go out and sign an OBJ, even though OBJ is not quite there yet. But they need to get a receiver in that offense before they lose this division entirely, because it's very possible that they are 3.5 games out of first after this weekend.
It looks like your Vikings prediction for the North is coming closer and closer to fruition. I'm still waiting for the Vikings to hit a wall, but it hasn't happened yet. This is my other candidate for Game of the Week, and I understand that the Indianapolis Colts have been a mixed bag. It's been hard to completely tell what you're going to get when they play. You and I, Zap, both had these guys in the preseason. We felt very good about them getting rid of Wentz, replacing him with Ryan. You got Jonathan Taylor. This is the battle of the running back kings, so to speak. Henry, before the injury, he was the dude. After Henry's injury, Taylor was the dude. These teams have played recently. I like the Titans. I think it's going to be close. I think you're going to see more offense than anybody expects. I think more people expect a low-scoring game, and that's part of the reason why I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. This is my second pick for overtime this week, and I've got the Titans winning this one 27-24 in OT, and I've got King Henry having a signature game and getting a signature first down that puts them in position to win the game in overtime on the foot of Randy Bullock. I got it 27-24 Titans, divisional rivals, and I that would be a sweep for the Titans. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm kind of on the same page with you. I think King Henry and Jonathan Taylor are going to have not necessarily breakout games, but I think they're both going to break for long runs each. I think Henry's going to have one of those, 65, 60-yard rushes, and I think Jonathan Taylor will do the same, if not, screen pass game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring per se, but I still think that Titans will come on top of this. I think they have a better defense than the Colts do.
We also got a better coach.
Yeah, I'm going to say 30-23 Titans.
Zap, your thoughts on this one?
I like this one too much. This is, to me, could very well be game of the week. We still don't know if Jonathan Taylor is in fact going to play. He still is questionable, but it looks. I couldn't imagine him missing this game.
He's a full participant today. He's
right.
I think
was Naheem Hines as well.
Yes, and we did see Matt Ryan finally have a big passing game this past weekend, which was very instrumental in their victory. I'm going to do something I've never done before. Overtime game, 24-24 tie.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, okay. I like it.
I'm going to give this literally 30 seconds on my part. I would appreciate if you two do the same. 24 Raiders, Texans 9. I think this is a blow-up game for the Raiders defense. I actually think Darren Waller is going to finally have a game. And I think
he's still questionable. He's got a hamstring injury.
I think he's going to play. And I think that Devontae Adams think the Devontae Adams situation, at least for now, he'll be put behind him. He's going to have a good game. I don't see this game being close. I think the Raiders are going to make more plays on defense than they have all year, and I think this is going to be a blow-up game for the Raiders defense that leads to manageable field position during the course of the game. And I think Derek Carr actually has a turnover-free game.
Look for this to be a blowout game for Pierce in Houston. Okay. I think this is going to be a blowout game for him. Granted, the Raiders are still going to come out on top, but I think this will be one of Pierce's best games of the year. I'm going to say 30. I lied. 29-13 Raiders.
Zappy, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is kind of one of those games that Raiders need. You know, they have been nowhere near what anyone had projected them to be, with the exception of Derek Carr. He's been pretty much right on line with you and I, not so much with Brett. Yeah, Raiders win this one 27-9. I just don't see much for Houston, even if Pierce has a good game. I think they're going to rely more on the legs of Josh Jacobs and just control that clock.
How you guys said that the Giants going into Jacksonville, how it was going to be a legitimate trap game. I actually think that the New York team that's going to flounder this week is going to be the other guys. I think this is the trap that's going to come to bite. Russell Wilson has been getting dogged out all over the place. Sauce Gardner coming off, his first signature superstar moment, even rocking the cheese head, running off the stadium. These are two very good defenses. I do think that to a level, what the Jets have done is a little bit of smoke and mirrors on the offensive side of the ball. I do think the Jets' defense is good. It's in Mile High. I'm looking for a lot of field goals in this game. I think the Broncos are going to beat the Jets 15-14. 5 field goals beating 2 touchdowns, and Zach Wilson is going to get sacked 4 times, and he's going to be knocked down about 14 times. I like the Broncos in a low-scoring game because the Broncos have been in a lot of these games. They just can't do anything on offense.
Yeah, I think very similar. I'm thinking, but I think Russell Wilson is actually going to get a rushing touchdown this game. On a nice bootleg play. I'm thinking 21-16 Broncos, just because it's at Mile High. It's going to be a crapshoot. I think Melvin Gordon, he'll probably get about 20 carries this game. But I think Russell Wilson finally gets in the end zone this time.
Yeah, short and sweet. Both New York teams are being told how good they are. One of them is gonna flounder. I got my money on the Jets doing that before the Giants. Just my opinion. We'll see. Zappy, your thoughts?
The Jets continue to surprise. I thought they were gonna take care of Green Bay. They more than took care of Green Bay. They continue to get doubted by people, and I think they will come out on top. Denver is in serious trouble on many different levels, and I think a lot of it has to do with Russell Wilson. He is not the quarterback he once was.
No, that's indeed a fact. He's also hurt, and I try to take that into account.
Well, most of these NFL players are hurt because we are going into week 7. So I can't make excuses for Russell. I'm tired of doing that. We've made excuses for him over and over again over the years.
Fair enough.
I have Denver coming out on top in a very low-scoring game, 17-13. I'm sorry, the Jets coming out on top, 17-13. And I think Zach Wilson will be under pressure, but I think he's going to have enough composure to win that game.
All right. We're going to find out soon enough.
Yeah.
This is my third candidate for potential game of the week. This is a Super Bowl rematch just a couple of years removed from these two teams playing in a very classic Super Bowl. And the same 2 quarterbacks are starting because of the Trey Lance injury. Jimmy G gets a rematch with Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be in Candlestick. I still call it Candlestick. What is it, Levi's now?
Levi's Stadium.
Yeah.
I still call it Candlestick.
I still do too.
I'm looking for a very competitive game here. The 49ers are coming off of a rather embarrassing loss And I think they're a lot better than they played. But the 49ers have been a mixed bag this year. They are a year removed from the NFC title game, and they've made the NFC title game 2 of the last 3 years. I like the Chiefs, but it's going to be close. I think the X factor is going to be the Mahomes to Kelsey connection. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling has one major catch that flips this game, and I also think a Jimmy G turnover flips this game. I've got it close. I got the Chiefs winning this one 31-24. I got them winning by 7. I think late in the game, the 49ers turned the ball over untimely, and that's the difference. But I do think that this could be a confidence booster for the 49ers, even in defeat.
No, I think it'll it's really hard to keep that Chiefs offense off the field. But you're going to see a heavy dose of running the football with the Niners. I think you actually might see not a breakout game with Kittle, but you're going to have a solid game from him. You're going to see a lot of Debo. There's going to be a lot of controlling the clock and trying to keep that Patrick, Mahomes offense off the field. Sad candlestick, like you said. I think Niners can come on top this one. I'm going to go. I'm going Niners. 28-26 Niners.
If the Chiefs didn't lose last week, I might agree with you. I don't see them losing back-to-backs. We shall see. Zap, what's your thoughts on this one of a Super Bowl rematch? Zap, you hear us?
Zappy? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, here you go. I'm waiting for you to say something.
I was talking this whole time. I don't know how my mic got muted. Anyways, so yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Richie.
No, the microphone did.
Yeah.
Oh, touche. Both teams are coming off a loss. The Chiefs are coming off a more emotional loss, while the 49ers are coming off an embarrassing loss. But I trust Mahomes in this situation more than I trust Jimmy G. I just can't see Patrick Mahomes losing 2 games in a row. I can't see Andy Reid losing 2 games in a row with Patrick Mahomes. So for that reason, it's going to be a close one. I think the 49ers will be running the ball and the Chiefs will be passing the ball. This will be the game the Chiefs realize that maybe they need to make a trade for a CMC and maybe they need to go out and sign an OBJ. So, but for that reason, their kicker is back. Harrison Butker will kick the game-winning field goal, 27-24, Kansas City Chiefs.
Our final game that we'll be covering tonight, and we are going to do a split video to cover our Sunday night and Monday night football games. We got the Seahawks at the Los Angeles Chargers. Seahawks, I've been saying this word a lot tonight, mixed bag. But they are definitely ahead of expectations given the fact that going into the season, most people were clowning their quarterback room. Geno Smith is playing at the highest level he has ever played in his professional career. Kenneth Walker gets presented an opportunity in the absence of his running mate, Rashad Penny. The Chargers are still trying to figure things out completely. They're still nursing some guys back to health. I think that this could be the 4th one of Game of the Week. Old school AFC West rivalry. Obviously, the Seahawks are no longer members of the AFC West. I'm going high scoring here. I've got the Chargers winning this thing. I'm going 37-30. I think this is going to be a high scoring affair.
I was going to say something like that too. I was going to say like 37-33, 37-34. I think Chargers come on top. Everybody's been bagging on J.C. Jackson because he has not been performing well. I think this is the game where he comes out on top.
Zappy, your thoughts on this? We're coming up on the 45-second mark, and we're going to come back to finish our final 2 games for the prime times. Zap, you're up.
I see this game high scoring as well. I have the Chargers coming out on top because they are the better team and playing at home, 34-27.
So we all agree?
Yep.
All right. Guys, thanks for watching. We are going to spread apart our primetime games on a separate video that we will get out to you. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for